Expression is a celebration of all your conditioning. Whatever you come up with in the moment, whatever I'm coming up with now, is just a manifestation of everything that has preceded it. A thought that arises comes from this bedrock of being, and it moves through layers of conditioning and surfaces in the world as an expression, as an action, as dance, as song, as conversation, as writing on a page. And how that is expressed is completely unique in that moment. Conditioning here is the result of all our experiences, what our body is made of. It's how we've conditioned our body, physically speaking. It's what information diet we've consumed. And all of that goes into this melting pot of the body-mind. And from that, it sieves and shapes thoughts as they arise. This conditioning is a lot like weathering a stone. Our sharp edges morph into softer edges, and sometimes the soft edges morph into hard edges. So times where we see conditioning more formally is where a soldier goes through basic training. They go from civilian to a killer, or the doctor going through years of medical training goes through student to professional healer. And you too have gone through a lifetime of experience to be you. Your expression is unique. No one else can express quite like you. No one else sees the world exactly as you do. Your position, your perspective in the world, in this universe, is like the snowflake. It is completely unique. There is nothing else quite like it. Joyful, authentic expression is a wonderful celebration of all that conditioning. It says yes, please, thank you to all that conditioning, all those experiences that have happened before this moment, leading up to this moment. All of your influences meet together in this body-mind. They meet this moment, and that is what expresses itself. Negative expression, such as violence or destruction, is a celebration of that conditioning too, in its own way. We all have aspirational versions of ourselves. Perhaps you wish to be an artist or a writer or a filmmaker. How do you get to this stage where you're free to express yourself in that way? Well, that comes down to conditioning too. And so moving from where you are now to that state that enables that expression is conditioning as well. You have to go through life experiences to condition yourselves in a certain way. And of course, that aspiration to be the writer is also conditioning too. It's feedback loops throughout your life experiences that have constructed this conditioning. It's being in the world, acting in the world, that has rewarded or punished certain actions. For example, maybe you prefer dogs to cats. Perhaps a cat scratched you when you were a youngster, and that has formed part of your mental model of the world. And these experiences, positive or negative, leave an imprint on us. And of course, our biology plays a role in how these imprints are formed. And there are life experiences that enact on the psyche in very, very subtle ways that we will never fully unpick, ways that lead to craving and aversion day to day, that act on a level so subtle that it requires a lot of meditation and time and retreat before we can unpick them. Sometimes these imprints run really, really deep, and they're very difficult to change. But we have to keep an open mind to the possibility that we can change them, the hope that we can release them and we can relieve ourselves of some of this conditioning. And when imprints run this deep, this conditioning is mostly operating on an unconscious level. Stimulus creates almost an instantaneous reaction. An itch provokes a scratch. Interception of the subtlest craving and aversion is possible during mindful stillness. There is a wonderful quote by Jung here. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. To change this conditioning requires new experiences, requires action, requires engagement with the world. We need to put ourselves in potentially uncomfortable situations and recognize that they're not so bad. that the outcomes that we were predicting were not quite correct. Conditioning is unlikely to change if we are repetitively processing similar experiences. It is fresh and novel experiences that we should pursue. And that gets us into the realm of awe and wonder. Two of the requirements for awe are perceived vastness and a need for accommodation. A need for accommodation requires novelty. And so this celebration of expression is really what this YouTube is about. It's about my celebration of experience. My conditioned self finds these topics really valuable. They open myself up to new ways of looking and operating within the world. If your conditioned self finds these videos interesting and if they resonated with you, please consider subscribing.